welcome to the Goal Line Stand. Andrew Spaziano, joined alongside, as always, with Mr. Tom Condi.
Hey, everyone.
It's been a very long time, Tom.
Yeah, we had some technical difficulties last week, huh?
Yeah, I was bummed. We had a good lineup there, but that'll be on another edition. Don't worry.
Yeah, thankful that our IT, they fixed everything, and we're good to go.
Yep. Luckily, it wasn't a major issue, so we were able to just hop back in today and get back into the groove of things.
Could have been worse. Could have happened this week with the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 52.
Yeah. No.
Oh, boy, do you hear the excitement in my voice, huh?
I know, Tom. I know this is your dream matchup between two of your favorite franchises ever.
Super Bowl 52. Philadelphia Eagles versus the New England Patriots. Number 6 versus number 1, kind of.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Got a New England chasing number 6. That's what I'm referring to, number 6. And then Philadelphia chasing number 1.
Yeah.
That's why I refer to them as number 1.
And this is the third time that Philly's been in a Super Bowl, and I think it's the ninth time the Patriots have been in it.
This is yeah, I believe so. Because last year, I want to say you guys tied Dallas with 8 appearances.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as everyone knows who's been listening throughout the year, I am a diehard Dallas Cowboys fan. And this is where it gets to me, is I do not want to see New England surpass Dallas with 6 titles, Dallas having 5. But, now this is a big but, I hate the Philadelphia Eagles, despise them, the whole I hate the Philadelphia, and I don't want to see them get number 1. So that's where I'm at, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages.
You're at like a neutral ground, and it's not a good neutral ground. It's not just like I don't care. It's like I don't care because I hate them both in my own way.
Yeah, I mean, I love the game of football. Of course, I will be watching Super Bowl 52, but yeah, I'm just I don't want to see neither one. New England is more of a pride thing. I don't want to see, just like when Pittsburgh was in it, they won number 6. I was rooting against them. I don't want to see any team pass Dallas with the most Super Bowl championships. But time has progressed, and New England has that opportunity. And Philadelphia has been the butt end of so many jokes, enjoyable jokes, that I still want to joke about them. And I don't want them to win their first title because I really dislike, actually I'll use it, I hate Philadelphia, and I don't think they deserve it, especially with their antics after the NFC Championship against Minnesota.
Yeah, they had some nasty stuff going on even before the game. There was a video I saw somewhere online, I don't know if it was like Barstool or something, somebody was like walking through in a Vikings jersey, and I mean, granted, it's one thing getting heckled, but people are going up flipping them off, throwing beer cans at them. It's like, dude, it's a game. Like, really? I mean, like, it's not even like it's a rivalry game. Not that I think that'd be over the top for that even, but it's like, dude, it's a football game, and you're throwing stuff at like people.
Yeah, it's gone with the Philadelphia culture, with their football. I don't really know much about their baseball and hockey culture for that matter.
Philly fans in general just have a rap of being nasty fans, but yeah, I would say it's definitely with the Eagles is where you see it the most.
Being a Dallas Cowboys fan, we got to play them twice a year, and sometimes 3 if, they meet in the playoffs. But, yeah, the thing with Philadelphia not only being a division rival, but my thing was growing up, everyone knows about the triplets, Michael Irvin, Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith for the Dallas Cowboys. And there was an injury that happened to Michael Irvin when he broke his neck at Lincoln Financial Field, Philadelphia Eagles. And they applauded that the rescue and him being stretchered out. They applauded and cheered and, like it was a great event happening. And that's always stuck with me. You've always heard the stories about them booing Santa Claus, throwing batteries, and being very aggressive on the visiting sideline.
Yeah.
So it's just that city's fan base, and I don't like them. I just.
No, that's fair.
I don't know if I'll ever get over that fact, but moving on to New England, I already said it. It's more of a pride thing. I just don't want to be surpassed and have them get number 6. But that's just me and my opinion, but it is what it is. This is the matchup. You guys here to listen to us debate about the matchup. So with that being said, who do you being unbiased, Andrew,
Yeah.
who do you see coming out on top?
Well, I'll be honest with you. When I look at it and I look at the rosters top to bottom, I think Philly has a better roster. I do. I think that team has a lot of depth. I think especially in areas where other teams struggle.
I'm gonna cut you off. Without Carson Wentz, you're saying?
Yeah, I still think they have a better roster because
Okay, all right, go ahead.
because that's one dude on a 53-man roster, and the rest of those 52 other guys are really good. For example, their defensive line is deep, and the thing that has really tripped up other teams when they play the Patriots, Jacksonville in particular, Tennessee in these playoffs, is getting tired up there. And the thing with Philly is they're so deep, they rotate guys in and out. And I think that's something that's going to be fascinating to watch in this game is because Philly prides themselves on their front. And if they can rotate guys successfully and stay fresh throughout the game, then it's really going to be interesting to see how New England deals with that because they're used to conditioning, and they're very good at conditioning. That's been talked about, especially after last year's Super Bowl, how well the Patriots condition and stay in shape and are able to stay fresher than other teams in the fourth quarter. But if you're rotating guys in and out and they're not playing as many snaps, then that kind of mitigates that to a degree. So I think that's fascinating. I think Philly, when you look at their receiving corps, I think they're very deep there. I mean, Alshon Jeffrey is a tremendous receiver. Torrey Smith is a very good guy, especially stretching the field. Nelson Aguilar has had a good year. And, I mean, Zach Ertz is a top 3 tight end in the league, in my opinion.
Yeah,
So,
they got solid weapons over there, and you haven't even talked about the backfield yet.
yeah, and backfield, I know you're not the biggest Jay Ajayi fan, but he's a good back. They've got LeGarrette Blount. They've got Clement. I mean, they have weapons there.
And don't forget that Sproles was out with a season-ending injury. I like Sproles. Even though he's long in the tooth, he is a good playmaker, especially for a team that can get him to the outside with open space because he's that one type. You miss that one tackle in open field. He has the speed and then just the get up to get down that line and score you 6.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But even without him, they've done a tremendous job of filling that void and really showing the depth they have at their running back position. And again, just across that whole team. So, yeah, I think Philly has a superior roster. That being said, I still think it's a pretty evenly matched game. I think what New England does with most any opponent, especially they're going to have to do in this game, is they're going to have a good game plan. They're going to have to find a weakness of the Eagles, and they're going to have to exploit it. And I think that's where they usually have a sound advantage. But I think even in this game, though, Doug Peterson is a good offensive mind, and Jim Schwartz is a hell of a defensive mind. And I think that chess match between Brady, McDaniels, and Belichick versus Jim Schwartz and that defense and the Patriots' offense is going to be fascinating.
Yeah, you made a good point about that defensive line and keeping them fresh and the rotation. You know where that brings me? Sorry to open up a scar or a scab, but that reminds me of the New York Football Giants.
Absolutely.
When they had that defensive line and they just kept rotating. And the one thing about Jacksonville, they had a dominant defense, but there's one thing that kept making me look at them and say, you got to be able to finish, is they let up a lot of points, especially in the playoffs, in the fourth quarter. And you can't have that happen continuously and be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. I really think that Philly is built in such a way where they can definitely take it to New England. And we're just talking right now when Philly's on the defensive side of the ball especially. I think they have a very good team to face this Patriots team. I mean, people talk about how Philly's secondary isn't all that great, and they have some playmakers back there, but I mean, that's a fair point. But the way you beat the Patriots isn't by covering guys for 5 seconds.
No, you got to smack Brady around
Exactly.
early and often throughout the whole game.
And the Patriots have so many the Eagles have so many playmakers on their front. Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham. They like to rotate. Chris Long in there. They got Timmy Jernigan.
I liked that trade, by the way, not to cut you off. I was a little upset as a Cowboys fan when Philadelphia made that trade with Jernigan from Baltimore.
Yeah, Jernigan was an interesting case study. He played for Florida State in college. He was a big dude, and I don't think he ever really meshed with what the Ravens were trying to do. But that's the brilliance of what the Eagles did in the offseason. The Eagles were able to bring in talent at a relatively cheap price. Like Patrick Robinson is playing corner over there. He's a cast-off guy who's bounced around the league, and he's made a tremendous impact on that secondary, and he's making less than $1 million this year.
Yeah, he only a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, little Band-Aid.
Yeah, and it's moves like that we are able to. It's what the Patriots do in a lot of ways. They always like to get those guys that are cast off, find a role for them, and then fit them in there. And I think Philly's done a great job of that. But I don't know. What are some of your impressions on the game? Because I've talked a lot about what I think.
I just kind of feel defeated personally. I have real no interest in this game.
But from
I'm gonna watch. I know I'm kind of beating the dead horse, but
it's okay.
the front seven of Philadelphia versus this New England offense, it does intrigue me because this Philadelphia defense kind of reminds me of the New York Giant defense when they won the Super Bowl. Because they smack around your quarterback, disrupt the timing, and they're solid enough in the secondary that they're able to win games. And it's one of those things where what came first, the chicken or the egg? What's better, a really good pass rush or a really good secondary? Philadelphia went in on the pass rush this offseason. So for right now, that's the betterment of the two. It's going to play into effect with this New England offense because how do you beat Brady? You smack him around early. But with that same token, if you're blitzing, if you're rushing him hardcore, Brady's going to find a weakness. He's going to have those crossing routes, the quick outs, might even hit you with the run game if the game flow needs it. That's what I'm looking at in this game. Is not a whole as New England versus Philadelphia. I'm more interested in New England offense versus Philadelphia defense.
Yeah, I agree. It's really going to be an interesting chess match, as I said, throughout that game. I think New England, we've said this several times in the playoffs, but I mean, I think using those running backs is key. I think they need to utilize James White and Deion Lewis, put them on the field at the same time, or Rex Burkhead. Put two of those guys out there. That's so hard to deal with one of those guys, but put two of those guys out there and have them run angle routes or stuff in the flat. I mean, you're asking your linebackers to do a lot no matter who the personnel guys are in that situation.
Yeah, or you got to waste a corner on them because they're
Exactly.
too fast for a linebacker, but they're undersized, so he could get, ran over for a touchdown. It's a lot of chess pieces that need to be moved and see what works and what doesn't. Now on the flip side, the New England defense versus the Philadelphia offense. Kind of I don't want to say the weak points of both teams because it's hard to say that with the Philadelphia offense. New England struggled early in the year on defense, but they really made it solidify as a unit towards the end of the season, and you guys have had a solid push throughout the whole playoffs. Nick Foles is going to have to play better than perfect, which I don't know if there is better than perfect, but he's going to have to.
And he played pretty damn near perfect against the Vikings, and he's going to have another kind of that effort in this game.
Yes, that running game should be able to eat up some yardage. I'm thinking you at least have a 100-yard rusher in this game.
Yeah, because I think New England in the playoffs has had to focus on running games because that was the strength of both the Jaguars and the Titans. Whereas with Philly, it's not really their strength. It's something they do well, but their biggest asset is the RPOs, the run pass options, and that's going to be the key. Is if New England can slow those down. I think the best way to mitigate that is you got to put guys in the middle of the field. I watched that NFC Championship game, and all Philly did is run the RPOs and just hit somebody on a slant for 8 yards. They just kept constantly doing that. Minnesota had no answer to it.
Yeah, for Philadelphia, they have to have the defense guessing. They have to. It's because if you have Nick Foles dropping back continuously, slinging that ball around, I know he's going on record and scored, league record of 7 in one game.
Yeah.
What was that?
2013.
Yeah, there you go. When he was first on the Philadelphia Eagles. So, can he do it? He's shown it, but I just don't see that happening on the grandest stage of them all, which is Super Bowl 52.
And plus, I think New England, again, getting back to their coaching, like I mentioned earlier, I mean, they're going to scheme against his strengths and they're going to try to take away his best assets. I just don't know if there's a way to take away the best weapons on the Eagles because there's so many of them. I mean, who do you focus on there? I mean, you're going to focus on Zach Ertz. You're going to focus on Alshon Jeffrey, the running backs. I mean, there's so many guys there. And I think where they're going to succeed in a lot of ways, the Eagles, is if they exploit the slot matchup. If they try to utilize Nelson Aguilar, it's kind of like in a way where you were talking about during that Titans game with Corey Davis. Corey Davis was kind of that guy, that third guy, and if they could use him in the slot, then they would have success. I think that's almost similar in this game. I think Nelson Aguilar could have a big game. Whoever's matched up on that slot guy, just because the Patriots are going to try to focus on Jeffrey or Ertz. I think Torrey Smith could also have a big game. I think the way you have to try to mitigate Torrey Smith is you're going to have to put a safety over the top because that's what he does best is go deep. And I think that what's difficult with that is if you're going to shade the safety to him, where's the safety valve against Alshon Jeffrey? So I'm really fascinated to see how New England handles this because there's a lot to handle on that side of the ball.
Yeah, that's a good point because I can see Belichick having Torrey Smith beat you guys than having someone like Alshon or Zach beat you guys. I honestly think Bill Belichick is going to take Zach Ertz right out of the game. Not by injury, but just by schematics and whatnot. I think he's going to take him out right off the rip. He's going to take that safety valve away from Nick, try and force the ball outside, and have one-on-one matchups with Torrey Smith, and then have your safety shade over with Alshon. That's the way I'm looking at it, because for a quarterback, tight end is arguably one of your best friends.
It's your safety.
Besides a running game, a really good defense, that tight end is money, especially in the red zone. That's a mismatch because what are you gonna do? You're gonna put the height and the athleticism of a corner or safety on him, or you're gonna put the body mass of a linebacker on him,
right?
But then lose athleticism. That's a big tough matchup for any defense in this league.
I think something you said there that's really pertinent is about trying to force him to throw outside because those RPOs are mostly all inside passes, middle of the field. So if you can clog up the middle of the field, you're taking away the passing aspect, and granted you can go with the run, but even having guys in the middle of the field because that's usually like a delayed handoff, like a draw. So you're going to have bodies there. So I think that's what the Patriots should do is try to clog up the middle. Like you said, try to make them throw outside the numbers because then you're going to have to try to force it in the tighter windows of your Nick Foles, and it would make it more difficult for him to do what he did against the Vikings.
If there's one thing that I really do, I'm on record. If there's one thing I really like about New England, is Bill Belichick. I do like Bill Belichick. And one thing he has tremendous success with is he'll take out your best weapon.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll make you beat him with your second or third weapon. And that's why I'm saying Torrey Smith will have to beat you guys in order for them to win. Because they're going to take Zach out. Now that leaves the two outside receivers, which is Torrey Smith and Jeffries. You can do more scheme-wise when you take out that safety valve in the tight end because when the quarterback's eyes are going, when you're progressing through your progressions, he's number usually 2, 3 in your reads. So if you have that safety over the top, one-on-one with Alshon, by the time you look over to Torrey, because you took out Zach, so you're looking at Alshon, now you have to look on your back shoulder or wherever Torrey's lined up, and 9 times out of 10, he's that run route. So he's going to at least blow the top off the defense and make whatever safety's back there playing center field have to respect that.
Sure.
So it's going to be interesting on what Nick Foles does. And here's the thing that we're not talking about is Carson Wentz in the quarterback room. You think he's chirping in his ear? Hey, on this, you might want to read this. Or do you think he's like, I ain't telling him because if he wins, I didn't win it? Do you
No,
think he's a greedy player like that?
no, I think if you watched what he was doing in the NFC Championship game, he seemed like he was pulling Foles aside, saying and giving him advice. He's got the headset on, so he hears what's going on between the coordinator to quarterback. I mean, I think he's invested in it. I mean, because he wants to see the job get finished. I know what you're saying. Like, you want to be the guy, obviously. But
It's only human nature.
obviously, but I mean, it's different for me because he blew his knee out. It's not the same thing as like Drew Bledsoe when the Patriots went the first time and Brady was playing. Drew Bledsoe was so selfless in the fact that he was helping Tom Brady. I mean, he was pissed off. I mean, anybody would be pissed off where you're the franchise quarterback and you're getting benched for some scrawny kid from Michigan, some second-year guy. So I think in this situation, I think Wentz, I mean, he put them in a position to be where they are, and Foles is the one who's playing Sunday, but I mean, they're not there if Carson wasn't a quarterback for the first 3 quarters of the season. I mean, he made them into the team they are.
So you think he's sticking pride aside and wants to win it for the Philadelphia franchise?
Definitely,
All
because
right. Just curious, because like I said, it's human nature. Everyone, especially at this level where, come on, the NFL is a whole league of alpha males. It's how these guys are been. This is their livelihood. So him being, they traded up for him. He got him as far as he could before blowing out his knee. Maybe in the back of his mind, locked up deep down, he's like, I hope Nick Foles loses.
But I think at the same time, I think he knows that he doesn't really run any risk of losing his job because Philly, like you said, traded up for him. They are invested in him. He's young. Nick Foles is going to be in his late 20s, if not 30 at this point. I'm not sure the exact number. So he understands that this is for 1 year. This isn't a permanent situation. And it's only because he's hurt. Nick Foles is going to get paid in the offseason because I think Philly, I believe Foles is a free agent. But if not, Philly they'll get a ransom for him. Or one way or another, Foles is going to make some money because there's so many quarterback needy teams in this league that a guy that even if they don't win, he led them to the Super Bowl. He won 2 playoff games. I mean, just having that on your resume is going to elevate your stock tremendously. So, I don't know. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I
if I'm
just
Carson
wanted to
Wentz.
ask that human element question. It's a very it's how you are as a person. So that's why I was kind of curious about your thoughts about that what do you think Carson Wentz deep down is like? But speaking of quarterbacks, did you hear who Philadelphia is going to bring in before the Super Bowl to kind of
Yeah, Brett
rile 'em
Favre.
up? Yeah, Brett Favre. How funny is that?
I saw a lot of things on social media reacting to it, and they said, well, if they want to beat the Patriots, they should have Eli Manning go in and talk to him because he knows how to get the job done. They're
Yeah,
like,
I don't. I know Peterson and Favre are good, but it's like I don't know. Brett Favre, he never played for Philadelphia.
yeah, I mean, I just think it's better. I think if you're the head coach, it's better if you're the one who's setting the tone. I know, you watch the Americas games, Belichick. I remember the first time they played the Eagles, they said that he went up on the podium and he gave them the outline of the Philadelphia parade route. And, like, that's what he did for 10 minutes. And then he was, like, trying to get a rise out of the team or whatever. And then at the end, he's like, we know what we have to do your job, et cetera, et cetera. So, just irregardless of the route you take, I mean, I think if you're the coach and you're the leader, I think you should be the guy that's giving that speech. I think you're the one who has gotten the team to this point, who is the alpha male in the room. Who everybody looks up to. I think you should be in command in that situation. So it's a little weird.
It is unorthodox, and especially with that team, I feel like maybe if you're not having your head coach, at least have the most biggest personality on your active roster.
And they have leaders on that team.
That's my point.
Malcolm Jenkins.
Yeah, that's my point.
Guys like that. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. I mean, hey, if they win and it works, I mean, then cool. Like I'm not gonna knock on it, but I mean, I do think it's kind of an odd move.
The only person I would want out of team, and I'm talking about Dallas, would be Ray Lewis. That'd be fun. Yeah. One person outside your franchise. I mean, it wouldn't happen, but if Ray Lewis came into the New England locker room before
he's
before the game and to rally your guys up. He's one guy that can rally anybody
he's
up.
He's a motivational guy. He's always been like that during his playing career, especially. So, yeah, I saw that. It's weird. I don't know. I guess if you're Doug Peterson, I mean,
cash in on hey, you owe me a favor.
Yeah, right. Brett, I know you've done a lot of Wrangler commercials and you're busy with that, but if you wanna, style those jeans and come on up here to Minneapolis and talk to the team, feel free. But I don't know. I mean, I think the only thing game related that I haven't talked about, that a little nugget I heard that could come into play, is I heard Michael Lombardi this morning. He brought up an interesting fact that Philadelphia's defense all season long has only faced 56 pass attempts when they've been trailing.
Say that stat line again?
So throughout the season, Philadelphia's defense has only had to defend 56 passes in a situation when they are trailing.
This whole year?
Yeah, 56. That's like
wow.
That's like a game.
That's
change.
a game's worth of plays, just about.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting, and I think what that tells me is that Philly doesn't have a lot of experience playing from behind. And if you look at their schedule and how their season's gone, they have played from ahead a lot, and I think it's an obvious take. It's really not like this tremendous news that it's easier to play from ahead, but I mean, I think in this situation, especially if New England can get a lead, and that's not usually their MO in Super Bowls, they're usually on the flip side coming back. If they get like a 10-point lead in the second, third quarter, I might throw that team out of whack a little bit because they have a certain way of winning. And I'm not saying they can't play from behind. I'm just curious as to how they react to it because they haven't really been in that situation.
That's crazy stat. I'm thinking about that, and that's just a crazy stat.
Yeah,
I definitely want to look at their team schedule and just see how that has gone because that's very interesting.
If you think about it, they lost 3 games this year. That game against Dallas, the last game of the season, was a throwaway game for them.
Yeah, they had their starters benched for 3 quarters.
Yeah, they lost to the Chiefs in week 2, and then they lost to Seattle towards the end of the season in Seattle. So they really, at the end of the day, they lost 2 games where everybody was playing. In a lot of their schedule, they rolled through. I mean, those are the only 2 games off the top of my head. The Giants played them tough twice. I know they won on a field goal the first time around, and they came from behind in that second matchup. So that's one game out of how many where they came from behind. Again, I'm not saying they can't because they have the weapons to do so. It's just mentally being in that comfort zone where you have a touchdown lead, etc., and knowing that you can kind of do your thing and dictate. It'll just be interesting to see if they find themselves in that predicament where they have to work their way back into the game, how the team, offense, defense, and special teams reacts.
To come full circle, it puts pressure on that front 7.
Yeah.
Because the whole mentality and the game flow when you're leading is different than when you're trailing. So that is a good interesting fact that we'll have to pay attention in the Super Bowl. And if New England does want to go up 10, 12, 14, 36 points on these Philadelphia Eagles, they're going to need their big weapon in Rob Gronkowski.
He still hasn't been cleared from the protocol, so we're recording now. It's Wednesday night. I don't know. I figured he would have been cleared by now. It's strange because, I mean, especially with the bye week, you think typically if you get a concussion in the NFL, you're going to miss a week. That's usually how it goes. You usually aren't ready for the following Sunday if you get hurt on a Sunday.
It is an interesting news to keep an eye on. Does he have any throughout this year? Is this his first one?
Yeah, I mean, I can't even think throughout his career. I can't really think of any concussions. I mean, he's had so many other issues that if he had a concussion, I probably wouldn't know it off the top of my head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, it's the first one he's had all year.
Nothing rings a bell because I only asked that because maybe if it's a second, maybe it takes 2 to 3 more extra weeks. So that's why I don't.
Yeah,
I personally think he's gonna play. I don't.
Yeah, I can't see a situation where he doesn't just because he's had so much time. He's practicing on a limited basis. I mean, you have to pass a certain threshold in order to be able to play, but he's been practicing with the team, obviously not going full tilt because he still isn't medically cleared to go full tilt, but he's still out there. It's not like he's not participating and whatnot. I mean, I don't know. It's weird. I mean, I can't really say anything more than that because I don't want to make it into something that it isn't, because it's probably, at the end of the day, he's probably, like you said, going to play. I can't see a situation where he doesn't, but, I mean, it's just an interesting wrinkle that we're sitting here Wednesday night and he still hasn't been cleared.
Yeah, he limited participation, tight end, Rob Gronkowski, D-line, Dietrich Wise Jr.,
He also had a concussion.
and Malcolm Brown. So those are your three limited participants at practice for the New England Patriots. Yeah, I would be, if I'm a New England fan, I'd get nervous come Friday when I don't have any new news with Rob Gronkowski. If he's in, that's a big piece on the board.
Oh, absolutely.
If he's out, I'm sorry, but I'm not that afraid. You guys have had success. New England has had success without him. So it's kind of hard for me to say, well, you guys are going to suck without him. No, you guys have been...
But I think to what you're trying to say is that even if he's not catching 12 balls in a game, you have to respect him. You have to game plan for him because he's probably the best tight end in the league. Or, you know, he's there with Ertz and Travis Kelce. I mean, I'll say that much.
Yeah, top 3 to be politically safe.
Yep. So regardless of if you think he's going to be a factor, you have to game plan because he's the guy. I mean, what you're saying isn't wrong. He's the best weapon on that team. He's one of the best offensive weapons in the league. Without that, I mean, New England has talent. I mean, Brandon Cooks is a dynamic wide receiver with his speed. He doesn't really throw me with his route running necessarily, but I mean, he has talent. Danny Amendola is a clutch playoff player for the Patriots historically. Chris Hogan, he's got some skill in those running backs, but yeah, I mean, if he doesn't play, it completely flips the feel of the game. If you're Philly when you're defending, that's a big guy you don't have to deal with, and you can focus on trying to mitigate Cooks or Amendola or the running backs. You know, that's a load off your defense. So what you say is 100% spot on.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, he is such a dominant tight end and dominant talent in this league, so it would be easier for the Philadelphia defense and not have to worry about such an elite player.
Definitely.
But I would like to see him in there.
Yeah.
Me personally, he is fun to watch. He is such a big guy. He's just monstrous, and his speed is deceiving.
Yeah, the thing with him is that I've said it before, you can be that size of his and not be great because it's so difficult to not only have that body type but know how to use it. Just if you're 6'8", 260 or whatever he is, I mean, you have to understand how to utilize that to your advantage, and he does it so well, just being able to use his reach. I mean, he can go up for a ball, but I think what amazes me so much about him is when he goes down and catches the pass off the shoe tops. You wouldn't think a guy at 6'7" would be able to do that, but he has such a long reach with his arms that he's able to do that and get back in stride. I mean, it's incredible to watch him play in so many ways. So obviously, as a fan, I want him to play, but just even from a casual football perspective, I mean, you want to see all the stars play. We've had enough injuries in this league this year where we need to have everybody who possibly can play in the Super Bowl.
Fair enough, but on the other side, if he is ruled out, it's not like you guys lack the talent to not make up for it. At least then you guys will go maybe two running back system type game flow.
Yeah.
Similar to last year when James White was your practically Super Bowl MVP.
Should have been the MVP.
Yeah, well, no one trumps Brady.
Yeah. That is true.
But yeah, it's not like you guys don't have the talent. You guys got the cupboard stacked.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I'm pretty worn out with thoughts. I've said just about everything I want to say. You have anything to add before we make the predictions?
No, and I don't want to make a prediction.
You're not going to make a prediction? Come on, Tommy.
Geez.
You got to make a prediction. Not even
Can I have a coin to flip? I really... People, this is tough for me. I really don't...
But just like looking at the X's and O's, who do you think has the advantage?
New England.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I agree with you because I said at the top of the show I think Philly has a better roster, but just New England just finds a way. It's I'm not trying to sound like a homer here, but they know how to win these games, and I know it's like a cliche or whatever, but they do. They're so situationally aware that I think if the chips are down, that who would you want on your sideline and on the field? You want Brady and Belichick. I mean, that's who you want to bring you back. So I think it's going to be a hell of a game. I think it's going to be close. New England Super Bowls under the Belichick era are never not close. So you can't say that it's going to be more than a one-possession game.
Yeah, I don't expect a blowout. I really don't. But the way you asked the question, X's and O's, I would say New England.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, that's also where I'm going with it. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
I won't give you a score, though.
No.
I won't give you a score.
I don't. No, I mean, I'll give you a range. I mean, I think mid-20s. I mean, I think
each team or like 30-something to 20-something?
No, I mean, I think we're probably talking, I think the top's 27-24, but I mean, even like 24-21, it's somewhere in that range. 24-20 like that.
So a one-possession game?
Oh, absolutely.
All
Yeah,
right. All right.
If there's one thing I've learned, win or lose in these games, the Patriots are going to be in a one-possession Super Bowl game that's going to have some fluky-ass crap down the stretch and some preposterous nonsense play. So, I mean, you'll get your money's worth for entertainment value. I mean, I'm gonna end up tearing my hair out, but whatever. I mean, it should be a good matchup. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, well, I answered your question.
Yeah.
I've told everybody I'm not picking, but you asked the question in the right way, and
yeah, well, you gotta pick on the podcast, Tom. Come on, if we're gonna talk about the game, you can't just avoid the question.
I can do whatever I want, all right? But yeah, so I am on record.
Yeah.
X's and O's. Yeah, give me the New England coaching staff, New England players, and that New England sideline, I guess.
All right, so that's gonna about wrap it up. We'll be back next week. We're gonna break this down, and then we get into the off season. I'm excited about the off season, Tom.
Oh boy, I can't wait. March 14th can't come fast enough.
Yup, I think it's late this year. It's usually earlier than that. The league year starts, I feel.
I don't know. We'll have to double check for our next podcast.
Yeah, definitely. But thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed the Super Bowl, and thanks for hearing what we have to say. And hopefully you'll tune back in for our post-game analysis here on the Goal Line Stand.